I need you to pretend to love me, just for one night. That's all I'm asking." The words hung in the air of the small coffee shop like a desperate prayer. Carrington Hayes, 33, CEO of a tech empire, impeccably dressed, looked across the table at Sloan Winters, a 24-year-old barista with paint-stained fingers and skeptical eyes. "Let me get this straight," Sloan said slowly. "You want to pay me $5,000 to pretend to be your girlfriend at your ex's engagement party?" Carrington's jaw tightened. "I know how it sounds, but Vivian, my ex, she's marrying my former business partner, the man who stole my ideas and half my clients 3 years ago. They're throwing this massive celebration, and everyone I know will be there, watching to see if I'm broken." He paused, and something vulnerable flickered across his face. I need to walk in there with someone who makes it look like I've moved on." Sloan studied him. This man who had everything except the one thing money couldn't buy: dignity in front of the woman who destroyed him. "Why me?" she asked quietly. "Because you're real," Carrington said simply. "Everyone in my world is polished and fake. But you're different. And maybe that's exactly what I need." The arrangement was simple. One evening, 6 hours, complete with backstory and coordinated outfits. Carrington would pick her up at 7. But as the days passed before the party, something unexpected happened. Carrington found himself stopping by Sloan's coffee shop, not to rehearse their story, but just to talk. She told him about her dreams of becoming an artist, about the studio apartment where she painted until 3 in the morning, about the father she'd lost to cancer, who taught her that kindness mattered more than success. "You know what's funny, Sloan?" said one afternoon as she wiped down the espresso machine. "You're terrified of facing your ex, but I think what you're really afraid of is facing yourself, the part of you that's still hurt." Carrington stared at her, stunned by how easily she'd seen through him. "Maybe you're right. Being vulnerable isn't weakness, Carrington. It's just proof you loved someone enough to let them in. That's nothing to be ashamed of." Her words stayed with him long after he left. The night of the party arrived. When Carrington picked up Sloan, he barely recognized her. She wore a simple navy dress, her hair swept up, minimal makeup that somehow made her radiant. But it was her eyes that caught him, steady, kind, seeing him in a way no one had in years. "You look beautiful," he said, and meant it. "You look terrified," she replied with a small smile. "But we've got this. Remember, we met at a gallery opening. I spilled wine on your shirt. You laughed instead of getting angry, and we've been inseparable ever since." Except, as Carrington listened to their fabricated story, he realized how much he wished it were true. The party was everything he dreaded. Crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, and Vivian Ashford at the center of it all. At 27, she was still stunning, still magnetic. And on her arm was Derek Sutton, the man who'd betrayed Carrington's trust and stolen both his business secrets and the woman he planned to marry. "Carrington," Vivian's voice was smooth, practiced. "I'm so glad you came." Her eyes flickered to Sloan with barely concealed curiosity. "And who's this?" "Sloan Winters, Carrington's girlfriend," Sloan said, extending her hand with surprising confidence. As the evening progressed, Carrington watched Sloan navigate the crowd with natural grace. She asked people about their lives, remembered names, made connections. She wasn't performing, she was simply being herself, and people responded to it. Then came the moment he dreaded. Vivian cornered him on the balcony, away from the crowd. "You seem different," she said, studying him. "Happier, maybe." "I am," Carrington replied, surprised to find it wasn't entirely a lie. "I need to tell you something," Vivian said, her voice dropping. "Leaving you, it was the biggest mistake I ever made. Derek gave me excitement, ambition, everything I thought I wanted. But he never saw me the way you did. He never—" She reached for his hand. I've been thinking maybe we made a mistake, both of us. Maybe There's not, Carrington said firmly, pulling his hand away. He looked through the glass doors at Sloane, who was laughing with an elderly couple, genuinely engaged in their story. You taught me something, Vivian. You taught me the difference between loving someone's potential and loving who they actually are. Sloane's taught me what it feels like to be seen, really seen, not for what I can provide, but for who I am. Vivian's expression hardened. She's not even your type. She's a barista, Carrington. She's an artist who happens to work in a coffee shop, and she's more real than anyone I've ever known, including you. In the car ride home, silence stretched between them. Finally, Sloane spoke. Your ex wanted you back, didn't she? Carrington glanced at her, startled. How did you... I saw the way she looked at you, the desperation in her eyes. Sloane stared out the window. What did you tell her? The truth, I said slowly, that I've moved on, that someone showed me what genuine connection actually feels like. He paused at a red light, turning to face her. Sloane, what started as pretend, somewhere along the way, it stopped being fake for me. I know that wasn't the arrangement. I know I'm probably crossing every line we drew, but I can't keep lying to myself about how I feel. Sloane's eyes filled with tears. Carrington, you don't have to say anything, he said quickly. I just needed you to know. These past few weeks, you've reminded me what it means to be human, to be vulnerable, to let someone in without fear of what they'll take. His voice cracked. You gave me something I thought I'd lost. The courage to hope again. Sloane reached across the console, taking his hand. You know what's funny? I took this job because I needed the money. But somewhere between the rehearsed stories and the fake smiles, I stopped pretending too. You're not just some billionaire trying to prove something, Carrington. You're someone who was hurt and is learning to be brave again. And that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. 6 months later, Carrington stood in Sloane's first art gallery showing, a small space downtown filled with paintings that captured the quiet moments of human connection. There was one titled The Coffee Shop CEO, him sitting alone at a table looking lost. And beside it, another, When We Stopped Pretending. 2 figures, paint-smudged and laughing, surrounded by warmth. You know, Sloane said, coming up beside him, I never thanked you properly. For what? For asking me to pretend. Because in doing that, you gave me permission to stop pretending in every other part of my life. She squeezed his hand. You taught me that real love isn't about grand gestures or impressive credentials. It's about 2 people choosing to be vulnerable together, to see each other's flaws and say, I'm staying anyway. Carrington pulled her close, his heart full. I hired you to help me save face. Instead, you saved me. Maybe that's what love is, Sloane whispered. Not finding someone perfect, but finding someone's imperfections fit perfectly with yours. Someone who sees your broken pieces and doesn't run away. As they stood there, surrounded by art and possibility, Carrington thought about the terrified man who'd walked into that coffee shop months ago. He'd been looking for someone to pretend. Instead, he'd found someone who taught him that the bravest thing you can do is stop pretending altogether. Because sometimes the greatest love stories begin with a lie and end with the courage to be honest about what your heart has known all along. That kindness, acceptance, and genuine connection are worth more than any performance ever could be.